For our next demonstration, we're going to take a walk out into our directories so we can work out what each directory actually contains. Now don't worry, we're not actually going to go through every directory, but let's look at some of the main directories that we need to look at. And look at this, I think we found ourselves a glorious pixel playground, a playground where we can start investigating some of our directories. If I use CD, wherever I am in the file system, it's going to move to my home directory. The prompt tells me the directory that I was in. So I started off in my home directory and desktop, but now the path just shows me that I'm in the tilde directory. I can check that by using pwd to print the working directory, and we can see it is indeed /home/tux. My user account name is tux, and my home directory is located with other users on the system inside of the directory /home. But there are other special users, very special users, our root user or administrator. Their home directory is located elsewhere. It's in the root of the file system / and then the directory root. If I try and list that, I don't have permissions into the root user's directory. So it's telling me the root user directory is there. It's not coming saying it couldn't find the directory. I just don't have permissions. When I look at the root volume itself, so ls /, we can see that the root directory is there, so we can verify it's there. I just don't have rights to it. Okay, well, that's given us an idea on our home directory. But what other directories do we have? Well, why don't we go through and take a look at the server configuration directory? So I can go through and take a look at that by moving into the etc directory. But whilst we're here, we can use cd- to move back to our previous directory. cd- then takes me back. cd- is a really good shortcut that allows you to toggle between two directory paths. But anyway, back to the etc directory, the server configuration directory. In here, I can cat out or list the contents of the host file. etc host is our local hostname resolution file. You can see I have IP addresses on the left and host names on the right. Well, this is just one of our configuration files. There are many, and some of them are organized into subdirectories. If I move into the SSH directory, our secure shell directory, and then run a listing here, I've got my SSH client configuration, my global client configuration, to affect all users on this system. If we had the SSH server, the secure shell server installed, which we will look at later, then we would also have an additional configuration file in here, not just the SSH_config, but the SSHD_config. So SSH is the client configuration, SSHD would be the configuration file for the SSH server, D for daemon. Let's move into the bin directory, /bin. Bin, remember, is not the rubbish bin, it is bin for binary. When I look in here, the contents of this are all going to be programs that users are allowed to run. So using the ls command, the color coding generally shows the executable files to be green. There's special permissions, then they might show as red, such as the mount command. When I go through and clear that screen, we could also look at the corresponding sbin directory for our supervisory programs. In here, these are all programs, again executables, that can be run generally by the root user, the administrator of the system. Now, of course, there are many directories, but let's take a look at one more for the moment. So if we move into the /var, var for variable data, list this directory, and we can see that we've got a log directory, and here our log files would be located. There's a mail directory where mail spool files would be located. If we're printing, there's a spool directory where perhaps some print spool files might be located. Adding in a database server, generally they're going to be putting their database files underneath the var directory. And then that USR directory, which is not really user, but call it user if you want. Let's move into Unix system resources /share /doc. And if I run the ls command here, we can see that we've got many subdirectories, the dark blue color indicating subdirectories, the documentation for all of the packages that we have installed on our system. So sure, this is just a quick tour. We're going to be seeing a lot more as we progress through our training, but it's giving you an idea of the purpose of our directories on the command line.